So we have people struggling to get food, struggling to heat their home or cool their home, because energy prices, what is it the president said, will necessarily skyrocket. Or fill their cars up with gas. It makes people vulnerable. Vulnerable to any kind of instability. Our own citizens are destroying our infrastructure, collapsing our banks, redesigning the globe, crippling our energy. The left is uniting with Islamists. The DOJ, have you heard anything from the arrests with the DOJ? Is anybody following up on that one? We have the left and Islamic radicals busted for working together. Someone should tell Good Morning America to stop investigating me and my situation of how what my future is going to be, and maybe start investigating on what the hell is happening in our world. I'm sorry, is that too gloom and doom for Good Morning America? The president said yesterday that he understands. He remembers what it's like to pump his own gas. Well, how big of you, Mr. President? The message was clear. Get used to it. So let's put this piece of the puzzle together here. You're going to have people struggling for food, not just here, but all over the world. We are behind the curve. Food, fuel, jobs, their money that they've worked their whole life for. What you have in your bank account is worth less and less every single day because we are inflating the money. They are stealing it from you. And it's happening all over the globe. It's not just us. Does that make a country more or less stable? You tell me. Now, imagine that there are people, whether it be for money or religious reasons or for power or political reasons, whatever it is, maybe some of them are just nuts. People are intentionally pushing the world over the edge. They're taking the crisis. I mean, I wanted to point out to Good Morning America today, that really, I wanted to point these things out to you and use Good Morning America as an example. Because when these things happen, I want you to clearly remember the people who told you, the same people who told you, don't worry about Fannie and Freddie. Don't worry about illegal aliens signing up for loans that they can't afford. Don't worry about Van Jones, a 9/11 truther in the White House. He's not there. Don't worry about Obamacare. It's going to make things better and easier for your doctor. Don't worry about raising the debt. Don't worry about shutting down the Gulf oil. Don't worry about Jeremiah Wright. He didn't even listen to his preacher. Don't worry about closing Gitmo. Don't worry. He's not divisive. He's not in bed with the unions. Special interests. Nothing's going to come of GE. What? Don't worry. Those same people that told you those things then are the same exact people who are telling you today, don't worry. Don't worry. These things won't happen. I pray every night that they are right. But if they are wrong, hear me now. Please remember these words. If they are wrong, don't worry. With God and values and principles and the Constitution and each other, if we stick to what has gotten us this far and we stick together, we will be fine. It will be tough because one of the other pressures that is building in this perfect storm is political unrest. People putting things together. Who could possibly be putting any kind of architecture in? Political unrest. We go there next. I want to put these, thanks Aaron, I want to put the world in some boxes here, and this actually should go over here. But this is what I want you to watch. I want you to watch the world in boxes. because sometimes it's really hard to follow what's going on. I mean, we talked about food shortage, oil. I don't think that would affect anything if that would happen. Natural disasters, inflation, debt, political unrest. But there's also a couple of other things. And when you start to see the cascading effect of what I talked to you about, the cascading effect that was happening here. Oh, man, is John Stewart. John, what are you going to do? Seriously, when I leave, what are you going to do? Who's going to give you this material? You know how crazy this looks? You're going to miss me, John. This is cascaded, and I told you it would. When Tunisia happened, I said on the 31st of January, Tunisia, it's the Archduke Ferdinand, and it will cascade. This is cascading and it's on fire. When things start to cascade elsewhere, in this region or these two, you're in trouble. You have the pressure, and I want to show you. This is cascading in this direction. And it's going to go this way. And this is radical Islam, and it's being aided here. Flip this. It's being aided by radical Islam here. This is driven by radical Islam. It's being aided by radical Islam up in Europe. It's being driven by the anarchists and the communists. Aided, driven, aided. I'm sorry, driven, aided. This is where you will always get involved. Because once it starts affecting you and your life, you are neither of these activist radicals. This is what gets you involved. Trouble with food, money, heat, jobs. And that's what they're counting on. This is going to spread from France, and it is going to spread in both directions as well. This is going to spread up, and I will show you how. And it is already spreading. These guys, the radicals, are already spreading. There will be more that come from this direction, up here, and it will spread. And once it does, the question is, how much weight can be put on the table before it collapses? Radical Islam. I think you're already seeing radical and hardline Islam spread into West Africa, Asia, Spain, Greece, Turkey. Watch, Turkey. All of that influence is going to go up. You couple that unrest with the anarchist and it spreads further. Russia is already having trouble again with Islam. Russia is hardline enough and nasty enough to just crush or kill anybody who gets in their way. England won't have that luxury. England is going to be trouble. You combine all of these activists with people actually struggling with food and basic necessities and more unrest. The radical Islamists are not the only ones trying to capitalize on the crisis. In Central America, you have the communists and anarchist groups operating there. We already know that Hollywood favorite Hugo Chavez is a full-fledged socialist. He is a dictator. Top U.S. military commander now. Have you heard this? And when you do, ask yourself, why have I not heard it before? Top U.S. military commander is now warning the government to pay close attention to Iran's increased visits to Venezuela. Iranian visits to embassies in Central America has doubled since 2005. Meanwhile, Chavez's government has confiscated the industry, one right after another, oil, media, food, you name it. Meanwhile, in Brazil, they have just elected a militant Marxist president. Have you heard that? If you watch this show, you did. Nobody seems to mind that she was a guerrilla combatant, a communist, who in the 1970s was in prison. No big deal, right? But now there are reports that Hezbollah is in South America. Remember, Hezbollah is Iranian, and we have found several handbooks now on our own border. Communists are now active in Mexico. So you have Hezbollah and communists and drug cartels. Here they are protesting. Oh, they're protesting. Oh, wait, oh, that is so amazing. That's a labor union. In another part of Mexico, and this is the story that to me, and it will seem like a very small thing to you, but I'm telling you, if it's not this, it's going to be something like this. A popular Mexican poet lost his son in a drug cartel moment of violence. This is having him now. He is a sympathetic figure. And I don't mean to say anything about him because I don't know anything about him, except some of his ideas. He is now trying to bring the cartels and the police together to agree to stop the violence. People are begging, see that sign? Begging for anyone to bring peace. How many times have I told you that that would happen when people got desperate enough, they don't care who will bring them peace. He is saying, let's just make a deal with the drug cartels. So, all of these things are down below our border. We're not paying any attention, and they start to head up north. You have the beginnings of unrest here in America. We are far, far behind the rest of the world, and that is the good news if we wake up. In Wisconsin, they are now comparing their battle to what MLK did. I'm just trying to get my arms around this. Can you imagine if I would say anything like that? He died fighting to make people, to make it sure that people could be judged by the content of their character rather than the color of their skin. In Wisconsin, they're fighting to have somebody negotiate their salaries for them. I can't imagine anything more insulting than that. But it allows us to argue politics and not what's really happening. Is the global trend headed towards more unrest or less unrest? And the more unrest, the easier it is for someone to stand up and be the strong man, because people will beg, please, just make it stop. Well, George Soros, who, bring it on, George, bring it on. George Soros, who has done his best just to be a philanthropist, little spooky dude. He's already admitted, in his own words, he has a God complex. And he likes to dabble in revolutions. Well, how amazing. He is holding 2 separate conferences. 2. He's holding Bretton Woods 3. Look up Bretton Woods 1 and 2 and see what they did. See how important. Here's George Soros now saying he can hold Bretton Woods 3. What is the motive of this? Quote, to establish new international rules and a grand bargain that rearranges the entire financial order. Well, I hope we all like it. Thank you, George. May I have another? The other conference that he is holding is, ready? The National Conference for Media Reform. And the slogan of the meeting is, Real Issues versus AstroTurf, confronting the Koch brothers. You're not going to believe this one when I show it to you. No, even if you watch this show every night, you won't believe this one when I show it to you. And again, ask yourself, why aren't other people showing this to you?